The more you fuck around, the more you find out.
That there is going to tell me how much I have to fuck around to find out what I need to find out. See, as you can see, the more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out. And also, if you stay down here and you never fuck around, you'll never find out.
This is very similar to content in a way. As you fuck around, you get more knowledgeable. And by knowledge, we mean lived experience. The more lived experience you have, the more knowledge you have about life, about the world, about everything that's going on. As a result, the more lived experience and the more knowledge you gain, the more ideas you have to share. The better ideas you have and the more ideas, the more content ideas you have. And that's why typically people who have fucked around the most and gain the most lived experience and knowledge often find it very easy to gain followers, because there are a lot of people that can look up to those people, and to be followed, by definition, you are following someone. You are looking at them and going, I like the direction that person's going, I'm going to follow them. What this means is you actually get a bit of a graph that looks more like a exponential curve. What that means is it starts pretty flat, slowly increases, and then over time is ever increasing. This basically means the more knowledge you gain over time, the more followers you can accumulate, because there's more people under you that will be looking up to you. What this doesn't mean is that you shouldn't create content until you're up here, because actually creating this line is what creates a really deep-rooted following that are following you for your brand and your story. Because in great marketing, you know that to be able to show the pain that someone is experiencing today in your past is the greatest copywriting, it's the greatest marketing, it's the greatest way you're going to create connection to your brand. So when you start down here with little knowledge in your space, there are very few people that can fall under this gap, right? Like if you think about this being your follower potential is the way I'll put it. This means if you came in today with very little amount of knowledge on a given area of focus or subject, you have a very small follower potential. As you work your way up and increase your knowledge, you're going to become more knowledgeable, resulting in applying these things with a practical sense in your life, becoming more knowledgeable and having more practical application, meaning you have more lived experience, which means you start going up this axis. As a result, you come over here and your following potential starts to increase. Now the goal would be that you're as close to this line, which is the knowledge you have today and your following potential of how many followers you have, you're ideally as close as possible. Now there's people that come onto the platform today with massive amount of knowledge, and they should be over here, but really they're up here. They're in this state of, I have loads of knowledge, but I don't have any followers to show from it. Those are the authorities that have loads of lived experience, and they need to get rid of this delta. This delta being, how do I show someone that I have all this lived experience, and that really my following should be over here. The number of followers should correlate to how much lived experience I've had. The problem with these people, either one, they don't know how to show or communicate that they're an authority on the things they've done, or they don't even know that they're an authority in the first place because they're surrounded by other authorities all the time. So their benchmark of what an authority looks like is so high relative to the rest of the world. Like if you're in the top 1% as an athlete, you're probably surrounded by other top 1% athletes. So when you look around, you go like, oh, everyone's putting up these numbers. So you forget when you go into Gen Pop, which is the general population, who are the other 99%, that you are a 1% authority. So for those people, it's realizing they're an authority. For these people, it's realizing that they're not an authority, but they need to get to a point when they are an authority. So you're going to increase yourself down here from documentation by books. Yes, it's probably going to require some reading, not just scrolling reels, by podcasts, by knowledge, right? So essentially taking the knowledge, and the more you can extend your knowledge by books, by podcasts, by reading, by consuming knowledge, interpreting knowledge and applying it in your own life, the more knowledgeable you're going to become and the closer you're going to become to being an authority. Now, an authority is really hedged on three things: time, certification, and impact. We can't speed up time. So if you're arriving today and it's your first year in the gym, you can't speed up the time. We can't make 5 years go like that. But what we could do is we could expand our knowledge through certification. We could go and look at potential certificates that we could go and get. potential degrees, or we could just further our knowledge ourselves by researching, by consuming knowledge in our area of focus. Impact is what you make in your life or your clients' lives. Granted, impact in a physical sense is going to take time. You can't just do one ab workout and suddenly have a rippling six-pack. You can't just tell your client to eat clean and suddenly they're in great shape. You need to apply consistency and time to get a desired result. But the idea here is when you're down here in documentation, as long as you're aware that, hey, you're early on, there's not that many people who can look up to you and live vicariously through you. But if I do all of this and I document, I'm gonna be as close to this line as possible. This is like the equilibrium of like, at this point in time, I need to have as many followers as I possibly can, given for the level of competency I have in that area of focus. There's some people that sit over here, right? Over here are the amazing communicators. These are the people that defy the physics of the line in terms of how much knowledge you have and how many followers should be attributed to that. These people are not necessarily super knowledgeable, nor do they have an authority, but they make up for it being incredibly entertaining and being great communicators. As a result, they end up over here, outside of the line, with more followers, an unfair share of followers versus the amount of knowledge they have. But most people should just aim to get to here, which is how do we sit on the line of, as I'm increasing the amount of knowledge I have and increasing the amount of capacity and potential of followers I could gain, how am I hugging myself to this line as closely as possible? Where you don't want to be is here. And this is sadly where a lot of people sit, right? Because they're not educated on how to communicate, because they're not great storytellers, may that be visual, verbal, or written. They have a great amount of knowledge. They've read books, they've read podcasts, they're super knowledgeable, but they just have no idea how to communicate it. So as a result, they end up in this dead zone of, I'm super knowledgeable, but no one knows that, so no one follows me. So our job in Amplify is to take people who are an authority and to allow them to communicate effectively to their audience so they can get closer to this line, head this way, and increase the amount of followers they have on the platform, because they deserve more followers. Our job for documenters is the same thing. Of course, we want them to get followers, but we also know we need to take them upward in skill. So we set a SMART goal, right? Something specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. This sets parameters in which they can go, I'm going to improve my area of focus. I'm going to go from low potential to high potential of followers by setting a SMART goal and achieving it. Take that in a fitness sense. It would be setting a goal that's incredibly clear, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound, and something that they can work towards. And we also want to supplement that with gaining knowledge in their space as well. Someone who is a beginner today, they can fundamentally learn all of the principles that it takes to improve someone's health, well-being, whatever niche they're in. As they gain all of the knowledge, are going to become more of an authority, both from a knowledge perspective, from a time as time passes, and an impact in their own life. As a result, that increases this, moves them along the scale of how many followers they can gain at any given point in time, and results in an increase in following and an increase in knowledge. So for documenters, we have two roles: increase the knowledge in their area of competence and setting a SMART goal for them to achieve, and showing them how to shoot content. For an authority, most of the time they already have all the knowledge. It's about how do we help them communicate that to their audience. Don't be in here. This is the delta of highly knowledgeable but no followers to show for it. We want to try and get as many people over here as possible, but at the minimum, we get them on the line. So at least they have the right amount of followers, given the amount of competence they have in their area of focus. If you're wondering where you are in terms of authority or documentation, I've left a quiz down below. Click the link and it will take you through the authority versus documentation quiz. It's going to ask you a set of questions in your area of focus and determine where your competence is today. Getting this wrong will cause massive issues in your entire content creation journey. Because if you think you're up here, when in reality you're down here, all your positioning is wrong. If you're saying, this is how you get a rippling six-pack, and you look like a drop meat pie, it's not gonna help with any of this, no matter how great the storytelling is. So knowing your positioning as a starting point is incredibly important. Use the link below to check it out. That will run through exactly how you can position yourself correctly. Once you know how to position yourself, everything else flows from that, from ideation to execution.